There is a moment in every person's life, a crossroads where the path splits, and a choice must be made. It may be a career you have built for a decade, a relationship that defines a chapter of your life, or a business venture that holds both ruin and reward. And in that moment, you freeze. The world falls silent, but your mind becomes a storm of 1,000 voices. The voice of fear, the voice of doubt, the voice of expectation from others, the ghost of past failure. Your mind, the very tool you rely on for clarity, becomes a cage. We call this indecision, but that word is too gentle. It is a state of paralysis. A state where the most capable and intelligent of us are rendered powerless. Why? Why do the most important decisions, the ones that shape our destiny, so often steal our strength? We are taught that to solve a difficult problem, we need more information. And so, we begin the great data hunt. But this is the great illusion of complex decisions. And today, we are going to shatter it. The path to making brilliant, fast, and effective decisions like a world-class CEO does not lie in gathering more from the outside world. It lies in mastering the architecture of your inner world. The first thing a master learns is to identify the true opponent. In decision-making, your opponent is rarely the problem itself. The true opponent is the fog of emotional noise that surrounds it. Consider this common scenario. You are in a stable, secure job. It pays the bills, but it no longer inspires you. An opportunity arises, a new role, perhaps in a new industry. It is a risk. It offers the potential for more fulfillment, but no guarantee of success. The decision paralyzes you. Your logical mind creates a spreadsheet. You compare salaries, benefits, commute times, then you add more variables. The new company's leadership, the market stability, your potential for growth. The spreadsheet becomes a maze of data. You ask your friends, your family. Each gives a different opinion, adding more noise. Days turn into weeks. The clarity you seek moves further away with every new piece of information you gather. This is not a logical process. This is the architecture of fear being built, brick by brick, in your mind. The mistake we make is believing that our indecision is a logical problem. What is truly happening is that your brain's processing power is being hijacked. This isn't philosophy, it is biology. When you face a high-stakes decision, you activate two competing parts of your brain. The first is your prefrontal cortex. This is the CEO of your brain. It is the logical, reasoning, long-term planning center. The second is your amygdala. This is your ancient, emotional security guard. Its only job is to scan for threats and keep you safe. The endless analysis in your spreadsheet is a direct assault on your inner CEO. You are forcing it to handle more variables than it is designed for. This is a state known as cognitive overload. The paralyzing effect of too many choices was famously demonstrated in a 2000 study by psychologists Shi Heng and Mark Lepper. At a grocery store, they set up a tasting booth for jam, rotating between offering 24 varieties and just 6. The results were profound. The large display with 24 jams attracted more shoppers, but the overwhelming choice led to paralysis. Only 3% of them actually bought a jar. The small display with just 6 jams resulted in 30% of shoppers making a purchase. The lesson is clear: an excess of options does not lead to better choices. It leads to no choice at all. It freezes the decision-making faculty of the brain. This is what you are doing with your spreadsheet. You are creating 24 varieties of jam, and your brain is freezing. But it gets worse. This state of paralysis is not a passive waiting game. It is one of the most energy-intensive processes your brain can engage in. Your prefrontal cortex, the CEO, is like a muscle. It runs on a finite supply of biological energy, primarily glucose. Every complex thought, every comparison, every act of self-control depletes this energy. This phenomenon is known as decision fatigue, a concept explored by social psychologist Dr. Roy Baumeister. His research on ego depletion shows that our capacity for making rational, effective decisions is a limited resource. When you are stuck in indecision, you are not resting. You are forcing your inner CEO to run a marathon in place. Your brain is burning through its energy reserves, caught in an endless loop of analysis. creating a state of mental exhaustion. And when the CEO is exhausted, who do you think takes over the company? Near it, the security guard, the amygdala, which runs on the ancient, energy-efficient circuitry of fear, steps into the power vacuum. This is why, after weeks of agonizing analysis, we often end up making a decision not from a place of clarity, but from a place of pure emotion, either an impulsive leap to escape the pain of indecision, or a retreat back to the safety of doing nothing. Your paralysis is not a sign of your inability to think. It is the logical outcome of an exhausted rational system being overruled by a fresh emotional one. The great leaders, the effective CEOs, the masters of their own lives, they understand this instinctively. They protect their cognitive energy as their most valuable asset. They know that the first step to making a clear decision is not to add more information, but to subtract the noise and conserve energy. They use mental models to cut through the fog, silence the amygdala, and give their inner CEO the one thing it needs to function: clarity. And the first model we will learn is a tool to achieve that clarity by breaking the fever of urgency and, quite literally, traveling through time. To do this, we must disarm the amygdala's most powerful weapon: urgency. Fear thrives in the immediate. It screams about the pain of right now, the risk of the next few moments. It has no concept of next year, let alone the next decade. To make a clear decision, you must learn to step outside this tyranny of the present moment. You must give your inner CEO a new tool, one that allows it to see the entire landscape, not just the battlefield directly in front of it. You must become a mental time traveler. The tool we will use to break out of the prison of the present is a mental model designed for one purpose: to give you perspective. It is simple, elegant, and you can apply it in under 5 minutes to almost any difficult choice you face. This powerful mental model is known as the 10-10-10. It was created and popularized by the business journalist and author Susie Welch, who developed it to navigate the high-stakes decisions of her own life and career. It has since been adopted by leaders of Fortune 500 companies, entrepreneurs, and elite performers to cut through emotional noise and make sound judgments under pressure. At its core, it is a practice of applied wisdom, a way to simulate the clarity that usually only comes with the painful gift of hindsight. The rule consists of asking yourself 3 targeted questions about the potential consequences of your decision. How will we feel about this in 10 minutes? How will we feel about this in 10 months? And how will we feel about this in 10 years? To understand its power, let's apply it to a high-stakes CEO-level decision. Imagine the CEO of a successful tech company. Her team proposes a radical, expensive, and difficult new project. It will require diverting resources from their most profitable product, guaranteeing a dip in profits for the next year. The project is innovative, but its success is not guaranteed. The board is nervous. The shareholders will be angry. She has to make the call: approve or deny. Her mind is a storm. The architecture of fear is being built. But instead of making a spreadsheet, she applies the 10-10 rule. First, she asks, how will we feel about this decision in 10 minutes? If she denies the project in 10 minutes, she will feel a wave of relief. The conflict with the board is avoided. The angry phone calls from shareholders won't happen. Her amygdala, the security guard, will be calm. If she approves the project in 10 minutes, she will feel a surge of anxiety and stress. The difficult conversations are now her reality. The pressure is immense. From this short-term perspective, the choice to deny seems far superior. Next, she travels to the future. She asks, how will we feel about this decision in 10 months? If she denied the project in 10 months, the company is stable, but stagnant. Their competitors are starting to release innovative new products, and her team's morale is low because their best idea was rejected. A quiet sense of regret has set in. If she approved the project in 10 months, the financial dip is real and painful, but the new team is making breakthroughs. There is a buzz of excitement and innovation in the company. They are creating something new, and the market is starting to take notice. A rational CEO, the prefrontal cortex, can see the long-term strategy beginning to pay off. Finally, she travels to the horizon. She asks, How will we feel about this decision in 10 years? If she denied the project, in 10 years, her company has likely become irrelevant, disrupted by the very competitors she was afraid of. She is remembered as the CEO who played it safe, who managed the decline. The decision is a source of deep, lasting regret. If she approved the project, in 10 years, it has become the core of the company's success. It has redefined the industry. Her legacy is one of courage, foresight, and innovation. The short-term pain of that first year is a distant, almost forgotten memory. This perspective aligns with her deepest values. Suddenly, the decision is no longer difficult. It is crystal clear. This is the power of the 10-10-10 rule. It is a structured system for forcing a perspective shift. It methodically disarms the emotional brain by acknowledging its short-term fears, engages the rational brain by focusing on mid-term consequences, and finally, activates the wise, values-driven part of yourself by looking at the long-term horizon. This modern CEO tool is, in essence, a reflection of an ancient Shaolin principle: to observe all things past, present, and future with equal perspective and without attachment. You learn to see that the intense emotions of this moment are temporary clouds, and wisdom lies in aligning your actions with the vast, clear sky of your deepest principles. It is an incredibly powerful tool, but to use it to its full potential, the answer to the 10-year question must be guided by something solid. It must be guided by your true north. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. Your life is the house you are building. Your values, your core principles are the blueprint. When your blueprint is clear, the thousands of decisions you have to make become simple. They are either aligned with the design or they are not. A decision that seems impossibly complex on the surface often becomes strikingly simple when held up against a clear, non-negotiable principle. The question is no longer what should I do, but rather, who am I committed to being? To make this practical and powerful, we will borrow a concept from a place where clear decisions under extreme pressure are a matter of life and death. The military. In military strategy, there is a concept known as the commander's intent. It is a clear, concise statement that describes the desired end state of a mission. Critically, it does not explain the exact method to achieve the goal. It explains why the goal is important. For example, a commander might issue an order: capture the bridge on the other side of the river. That is the task. But the commander's intent might be: we must secure a supply route to the northern village to provide humanitarian aid. This is a critical distinction. What if the soldiers get to the river and find the bridge has been destroyed? If they only had the task, their mission would fail. But because they understand the intent, they are empowered. They can build a raft, find a shallow crossing, or discover another bridge. The method can change, because the purpose, the true north, is unwavering. The commander's intent is the guiding star that allows a team to remain effective even in the face of chaos and unpredictability. This is the mental model you must apply to your own life. You are the commander of your own destiny. You must define your intent. Think of great leaders and innovators. Their most difficult decisions were guided by a clear, underlying intent. An explorer like Ferdinand Magellan, facing mutiny and starvation, operated under the intent to prove a new westward route to the Spice Islands exists, no matter the obstacles. A creator like Steve Jobs was guided by the intent to create tools for the mind that are beautiful and intuitive, empowering human creativity. A humanitarian like Mother Teresa lived by the intent to offer comfort and dignity to the dying who have been abandoned. Their intent was the blueprint. It simplified every choice. So, what is your commander's intent? It is not a goal like get a promotion or buy a house. Those are tasks. Your intent is the why behind it all. It is your non-negotiable code. To find it, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what is the one quality you admire most in the people you respect? Second, what is the one principle you would refuse to sacrifice, even if it cost you? Third, at the end of your life, what do you want to be remembered for? The answer to these questions will point you toward your true north. Now, synthesize it into a single, powerful sentence. Make it so clear it can fit on a small card. Perhaps your intent is, to live a life of courage and continuous growth. Or maybe to create security and opportunity for my family. Or to contribute my creative talents to projects that inspire others. This sentence is your blueprint. It is the most powerful decision-making tool you will ever own. Now, let's revisit the decision from Chapter 1. Choosing between the safe, unfulfilling job and the risky, exciting new venture. If your commander's intent is to live a life of courage and continuous growth, the decision is no longer a dilemma. The challenging venture, regardless of its outcome, directly serves your commander's intent. Even if you fail, you will have been courageous, and you will have grown. The fear of failure, the amygdala scream, loses its power because it is irrelevant to the mission's true purpose. When you have your commander's intent, you are no longer just choosing between options. You are choosing to be the person you have already decided to be. You are now standing at the threshold of action. You possess the blueprint, your commander's intent. You hold the navigation tool, the 10-10-10 rule. But there is one final enemy that stands guard at the gate. The most seductive and dangerous enemy of all, the myth of the perfect decision. It is the whisper that says, wait, what if you're wrong? What if there's a better option? It is the siren song of inaction, promising safety but delivering only stagnation. We wait for a sign, for absolute certainty, for a guarantee that does not exist. This is the final trap that separates the thinker from the master. The master knows that in the real world, the victory does not belong to the one who finds the perfect plan. It belongs to the one who acts. In the world of CEOs and military commanders, there is a core understanding. A good decision executed now is infinitely better than a perfect decision executed too late. While we are paralyzed, calculating every potential risk of action, we rarely calculate the guaranteed risk of inaction. This is the hidden tax on indecision, the cost of lost opportunity, of eroding confidence, of ceding ground to challenges that only grow larger in the shadows of our hesitation. To escape this trap, we use one last mental model, again drawn from a world where hesitation is fatal. It is called the OODA loop, and it was developed by one of the most brilliant military strategists of the 20th century, a US Air Force colonel named John Boyd. Boyd was a legendary fighter pilot who realized that in the chaos of a dogfight, victory belonged to the pilot who could process a changing reality faster than his opponent. The OODA loop has 4 stages: observe, orient, or decide, and act. You observe the situation. You orient yourself with your values and analysis, your commander's intent and 10-10-10 no fit here. You decide on a course of action, and you act. But here is the genius. It is a loop. The moment you act, your action changes the situation. This creates a new reality that you immediately begin to observe again. The cycle repeats. The goal is not to make one perfect, final decision. The goal is to make a series of good, fast decisions, learning and adapting with each loop. Action is not the end of the decision. Action is the decision-making process. Action creates new data. Inaction creates only doubt. Consider the story of a small startup in the late 1990s called Confinity. Their product was complex cryptography for handheld devices like the Palm Pilot. It was a brilliant idea, but it was failing. Nobody wanted it. The company was burning through cash, facing imminent collapse. They could have remained paralyzed, trying to perfect their failing product. Instead, they observed. They noticed that a small, experimental side feature, a way to email money between friends, was gaining a tiny bit of traction. They oriented to this new data. They made a fast, imperfect, and terrifying decision to abandon their original vision and pivot the entire company to focus on this little feature. That decision saved them. That company became PayPal. They chose a good, imperfect action over a perfectly planned failure. We began this journey frozen, a prisoner in the architecture of fear. We believed the enemy was the complexity of our choices, when all along, it was the noise in our own minds. We learned to silence that noise. We learned to travel through time, to see our lives from the perspective of minutes, months, and decades. We learned to draw our own map, to define the commander's intent that gives every action a purpose. And we have learned that action is not a terrifying leap into the dark, but the engine of clarity itself. So, the next time you stand at the crossroads and you feel it, that familiar paralysis, the tightening in your chest, the deafening roar of 1,000 what-ifs, I want you to pause, and instead of labeling it indecision, I want you to give it its true name: power. This is not a moment of weakness. This is a moment of creation. It is the point where the universe holds its breath and waits for you, the commander, to issue an order. The energy you feel is not fear. It is the raw material of your own becoming. You were never meant to be a victim of your circumstances. You were designed, from the cellular level up, to be the architect of your reality. You are the commander. You are the time traveler. You are the master of the loop. The great decisions of your life are not your enemies. They are your invitations, sent to awaken the leader within you. The question is no longer what is the right choice. The question is, what future will you choose to create with your power? In this moment, right now. Gratitude,